Everybody, and welcome to the PT on Ice Daily Show. My name is Christina Previtt. I am one of two lead faculty for Modern Management of the Older Adult. We teach Essential Foundations, Advanced Concepts in our live course through the Institute of Clinical Excellence. I got made fun of actually last time because I talk so much with my hands that I got screenshotted in almost like a type of pattern. So I made sure I didn't do that now. So I hope you guys are having a wonderful week and you're staying safe. It is actually my daughter's first birthday today, which is why I am frantically making sure I get in here for 8:30 because I was trying to spend as much time with her this morning, which is really fun. And it's crazy how fast the year goes. Okay, if you guys are interested in any of our course offerings through ICE with MMOA, our Advanced Concepts and Essential Foundations 8-week online course is starting in mid-May. To take Advanced Concepts, you will have to have gone through the online version of Essential Foundations because we're building on a lot of concepts from there. But I hope you guys are considering joining in because it's a really fun course and it's definitely something that Dustin and I have a really fun time teaching. Okay. Today, I thought that we would talk about practical methods and considerations for fear of falling. If you are working in the Jerry PT space, we know from the research that fear of falling is an independent risk factor for falls in an older adult population. So irrespective of physically what is going on, if an individual is worried about falling, they are much more likely to have a fall in the next 6 months compared to individuals who do not have a fear of falling. And what that means is that it's a really important consideration for us in regards to our management if we are working on trying to increase functional resiliency to try and potentially mitigate that risk of falling. And therefore, the first thing that we're going to have to do is try and see if fear of falling is on board. And one of the ways that we can do that, we actually have quite a few different outcome measures that appropriately assess fear of falling. And the one that I really like using is called the Activity Specific Balance Confidence Scale, or ABC scale. It has 16 different items ranging from lower level tasks, assessing if you have fear with walking down a hallway or getting up from a chair. And then as you go down the outcome measure, it gets to things that are progressively more challenging on a person's balance and function, going into walking on icy sidewalks and going up and down an escalator. And it assesses from 0, absolutely no confidence completing this task, to 10, which is 100% confident. And so a higher score would indicate a lower risk of falling or lower fear of falling rather. And an individual would feel a lot more confident with home ambulation and community ambulation. And okay, so what happens if you have a person who is flagging for a fear of falling? What we know is that having a fear of falling changes the way that a person navigates with their environment. There is this really interesting study that we talk about in the course that essentially compared individuals with fear and without fear of falling as they navigated through an obstacle course. So they had to go over different steps and then turn around and come back. So they had to go down a hallway with multiple obstacles and then come back. And they tracked the amount of time they spent on each obstacle, and they also assessed their visual saccades, so where they were moving their eyes in order to get a glimpse of their environment. And it was really interesting because what it showed is that individuals who have a fear of falling have a hard time looking beyond the step that they are on in an obstacle course, which means that if they have a step in front of them, they're spending significantly more time trying to look at and appreciate the depth of the step, the length of the step, and working a lot on navigating that challenge that's in front of them, versus individuals who don't have a fear of falling do a little bit better about scanning their environment. What that means is that they see what is coming next. They don't just focus on what they are doing. They also look, okay, so once I have cleared this obstacle, what is the next thing that I have to do? And I often compare this to driving. So if you were going to be going around a corner with your car, it would be like staring at the nose of the car. So if you are staring at the nose of the car, you are going to be watching your car navigate that corner. But if you look up, something might very quickly come into your field of view because you weren't scanning out in front of you, right? That's why we teach when we're driving to look further out into the distance. And that is very similar for when an individual has a fear of falling. And it's really important for us to appreciate those changes that are happening from a physical perspective so that we can kind of start to implement them into our treatment plan. And so if you have an individual with fear of falling, we can take a lot of insight from other healthcare providers. And one of the ways that we can do that is by taking aspects of cognitive behavioral therapy in regards to implementing graded exposure into our program. And so when you have an individual with a fear of falling, graded exposure is a wonderful way for us to get some reps in something that is fearful for our client, that they may be at increased risk of falls while navigating because of that fear or because of their physical capacity or both. And it allows us to make sure that we are acknowledging that fear. So above everything else, I think it's a really important construct that as a clinician, I need to acknowledge that fear and not just breeze past it. Saying, oh, I recognize that you have a fear of falling, we'll just get you stronger and that'll go away, is not an adequate response when a person is telling you that they have fear. It's like that feeling at the top of a roller coaster before you go down, the knots in your stomach. I think about that. And if you have a person who might have those butterflies in their stomach when they walk down from a curb in their community, then that would be something that I probably wouldn't be. I don't want to go on roller coasters every day. I don't want to have that gut. It's fun sometimes and I like pushing into that fear sometimes, but it's not something that I want to do every day. And that's how I kind of think about it and conceptualize it when I'm talking to my client, and acknowledge that that would be a really uncomfortable experience. And oftentimes that means that the first thing that we're doing in terms of acknowledging that fear of falling is having a full conversation about it. And making individuals feel like they aren't being unreasonable for having that fear, especially if they've had an injury related to a fear before, or everybody in their family and their healthcare team is telling them that they need to be careful, especially in the winter, because they're going to have a fall, and then it makes them not want to leave their house. Okay, so you've had the conversation with the person, you've gone through their outcome measure. So the activity specific balance confidence scale, the great thing about it is that it gives you treatment options. So you acknowledge that there's 2 or 3 things that they have a medium fear around, and then there's certain things that they probably would completely avoid. We're going to go into that medium range. So it could be going up and down stairs. This is an example. So if they say that they have a moderate amount of fear about going downstairs, then you say, okay, we're going to work on your fear of falling and your strength going downstairs. So our step is probably about 6 inches. We're going to start with 2 inches. Does that make you a little bit uncomfortable? And they will probably say, well, a little bit, but do you think that you could do this task? And hopefully you'll find a level where they will say yes. From a graded exposure perspective, you're going to get them to go through that movement. So you're going to get them to do those steps. So we're going to do a set of 15 or 20. At the end of that set, you say, are you as afraid of doing this now as you were when we started? And if they say yes, then we repeat. And if they say yes again, then we repeat. And that could be, reps and reps and reps. That is okay. That is working on desensitizing and extinguishing that fear. And that might mean that we do it over and over and over again. If they say, no, I'm not as afraid as I was before, then we're going to increase the difficulty by 10%. Again, graded exposure, we're going to get it a little bit harder. So we may go from 2 inches to 3 or 4 inches, and then we're going to do it again and again. We may take from 2 full hand assist to 1 hand assist and 1 like fingertips on, and that could be how we graded the expose. And again, we're going to go through and go through and go through, and the reps are going to contribute to strength, and it's going to transfer beautifully to function. And then it's also going to be working on extinguishing some of that fear. So I hope you guys found that helpful. That's just one way that you can start implementing these type of techniques into your treatment plans to potentially optimize your results. Not only are you going to be working on strengthening and functional capacity, but you're also going to be acknowledging something that may be a bigger barrier for your client than the actual strength issue in the first place. And so again, when we have an individual that we're working on a falls prevention aim, the first thing we want to do is make sure that we're assessing fear of falling. One of the ones that I like the most is the activity specific balance confidence scale. There's also like the falls efficacy scale, which is another very similar outcome measure. Whichever one is in your area of practice is totally fine, but make sure you use it. So use the items in that scale, go through the outcome measure with your client, talk about their fear. So acknowledge their fear. Do not breeze past it. Acknowledge that it is something that can be very worrisome. It's something that is common, especially if you've had a fall, and talk to them about different methods that we can do to help extinguish some of that fear. Then transfer into treatment, where we are taking some of the issues that we're seeing not only as a functional impairment in regards to potentially a decline in strength that is impairing a person's ability to be able to complete that task, but also if that is also something that an individual has a fear of, then we can go into a graded exposure paradigm where we can start using that protocol of slowly extinguishing that fear with stepwise progressions that are very calculated. All right, that is it for today. I hope you guys are having a wonderful week, that you guys are staying safe. I know that there are some states that are starting to open up, and so we have different clinicians who are working more, working less, some are working in telehealth. So I hope you guys are doing well in whatever position of work and life you are at right now. I am about to leave and hang out with my kiddo for her first birthday, so I'm going to be having a really fun day. If you guys are looking to jump into either of our online courses, we start both in May. I think it's the 12th and the 19th, but don't quote me on that. And I always forget which one starts first, Essential Foundations or Advanced Concepts. They start a week apart. But I hope you guys are going to consider jumping into one of those courses, and that we'll be able to interact more online. Alrighty. Have a great day, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to the PT on Ice Daily Show. If you enjoyed this content, head on over to iTunes and leave us a review. And be sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram at the Institute of Clinical Excellence. If you're interested in getting plugged into more ICE content on a weekly basis while earning CEUs from home, check out our virtual ICE online mentorship program at ptonice.com. While you're there, sign up for our Hump Day Hustling newsletter for a free email every Wednesday morning with our top 5 research articles and social media posts that we think are worth reading. Head over to ptonice.com and scroll to the bottom of the page to sign up.